Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
So, in this week's Torah portion, we are in Parshat Tzav. And Parshat Tzav, Tzav means commandment. It comes from the same root as the word mitzvah. So, Tzav is the command, the directive, the no questions, just do it sort of command. And that's a lot and often the way that God speaks. God commands. And in this portion, it says, Moses to tell Aaron, God commands Aaron and his sons to do a bunch of different things. And in this portion, we learn a lot about sacrifices. Now, sacrifices, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, it's kind of gross. We don't really, as Nate talked about, want to go back to a time where, or at least I don't, and Nate agrees, of temple sacrifices, because I don't think any one of us really aspires to practice that kind of religious tradition. We don't need to be in that practice. But so, how do we relate the Torah portion that talks about commandments and about sacrifices to our lives today? We're going to talk about commandments. We're going to talk about what it means to be commanded. What it's really talking about then is our relationships and our responsibilities, right? What are our obligations to God and to each other? That's what this Torah portion is about. In the ancient times, that obligation had to do with a certain ritual and sacrifice. In a world where that doesn't exist, how do we uphold our end of the bargain? How do we fulfill the relationship that we have to be in with God and in with each other? What responsibilities, what obligations do we have? One of the philosophers that I love, Emmanuel Levinas, talks about responsibility being recognized and obligation being recognized when one makes eye contact with another. When two people make eye contact and you see God in that moment, you recognize your responsibility to the other. And in that moment of recognized responsibility, sometimes it's a moment of strength and a moment of courage and a moment of celebration. But sometimes it's a moment of need, right? Sometimes you recognize in the other a need you can fulfill. But in both cases, once you have that moment of connection, you find that you are responsible to another person. And so I wonder, in a world where we come into contact with so many people, what it means to have responsibility to the other. What does it mean to have responsibility to the people in our lives? What does it mean to have responsibility in relationship with God? And so I'd like to invite you for just a moment to turn to the person next to you and think about, what does it mean to be responsible to someone else? What does it mean to be responsible to the other? What does it mean to be responsible to someone outside of your own person? Maybe even your own family. What does it mean to be responsible? So take a moment. Okay, so let's just take a couple. Who has an idea of what it means to be responsible to someone else? What does it mean? What's an example? Having basic respect, right? That something we teach in our, to our youngest children, right? Have respect for someone else. Yeah. Have empathy. I love that, right? Try to put yourself in someone else's shoes and have empathy for what another person, another human being might be going through. Mario? Okay, so having some level of relationship with your family and the blessings of family purity and relationship wise, absolutely. What else? Anything else? Ah, the key, listening. Listening, not just hearing, right? Not hearing only pieces and parts of what we want to hear, but actual true listening, right? Listening not with the intent to respond, but the intent to understand. So, in the world we live in, we're, we have responsibilities thrown at us all the time. We live in a world where everybody, I think, uses that word a lot. I have so many responsibilities, I have so many obligations, I have so many things to do, and we sometimes lose sight of the fact of what does actual responsibility to another human being mean. And I think in this Torah portion, we can be reminded that the human moment of looking in somebody else's eyes and recognizing that we are all connected and that we are all responsible to the other. Everybody's looking at the screen, so I have to figure out what's going on. Um, the actual human moment of looking into somebody else's eyes and recognizing your human responsibility is an important takeaway. Shabbat Shalom.